Rules Committee at this convention, we heard a lot of testimony about how Rule 44, which is our censure process, needed to have some more teeth.
Yes.
This amendment does not take away the current censure ability of the party. Rather, it gives additional strength to our ability as Republicans to make sure our elected officials follow our principles if they want to continue to run for office as Republicans.
Yeah.
You'll hear people opposed to this minority report say the Texas election code allows people to run for office if they pay their fee and fill out the correct application.
Oh, sometimes they want to follow the election
true.
code. Sometimes they want to
But
follow the
Texas
party
election code
rules.
does not allow people to run for office by doing that in the Republican Party. We decide who is Republicans. The R brand,
Yeah.
somebody's name on a ballot, belongs to us. We decide
Woo!
who gets the R by their name.
Yeah.
The language that's in red and blue is the amendment. If you look at what it says right now, that's the strike-through language. If an office holder violates our principles enough times to get a censure, which we haven't changed, same criteria, we now have two options. We can issue a mere censure, in other words, slap their hand, or we can vote to make them not eligible to run for office in the Republican Party primary following the censure passage for one cycle.
Oops. What's this?
By the
What
way,
do I
as you
do?
can imagine, since I'm the author of this minority report, I've had a lot of elected officials pigeonhole me about this. 100% of the elected officials don't like it. They don't like to be held accountable. In fairness, I don't either. But that's what we're trying to do here. If you think of our party as being a corral and the horses are Republicans and they have the Republican brand on them, if they escape the corral and they're wandering out in the pasture, we're just trying to get them to stay in the corral. This is not a punitive motion. It is a motion to try to incentivize them to stay in the corral. I encourage everyone, please vote for this. Thank you.
Excuse me. Rachel Cooper, SD 13, member of the Rules Committee, who spent over 50 hours in the Rules Committee. My point of information is this, Mr. Chair. What is the practical effect of this minority report on the Republican Party of Texas? Can the Republican Party of Texas afford the litigation that is outlined in this minority report?
The short answer is no. The longer answer is what this would have the effect of doing is taking a Rule 44 that allows the Republican Party of Texas, county parties, and the SREC to sanction Republican officials who deviate from the platform and meet certain criteria and impose penalties. Currently, the Republican Party of Texas could oppose people publicly who are sanctioned. We can spend money against those people. What this would do is change it to add a sanction to actually deny ballot access. That would undoubtedly trigger litigation, which could potentially bankrupt the party, or because we're not prepared for it, it could trigger litigation which
That's bullshit. We set our
do
own
not
rules.
defend properly, and then we have court opinion that we don't want as precedent. So,
No, the Supreme Court already ruled we can do whatever we want.
short answer, we would have monetary issues and we would have issues with possibly creating bad law that would make it harder to apply Rule 44 in the future.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized for a point of order.
Please state your point of order.
Mike Snyder from Senate
Oh,
District
God,
9.
it's
I
this
rise
guy.
to bring a point of order. The majority or the minority report proposed as a replacement for Rule 44 and is drafted by the
He used to be
Permanent
on
Rules Committee is in direct
TV,
conflict
yeah.
with the Texas Election Code 141.001. Specifically, the minority report section K, subparagraph 2, violates the Texas Election Code by illegally restricting lawful access to the election ballot, thus rendering the entire minority report out of order.
No.
And add as a
Oh, he
supplement to my motion.
didn't care about the Texas
that
election
this
code.
exposes every county chair, every member of the CECs, as well as you, the chairman, to financial liability in suits that will follow, plus giving Democrats
Sunday.
to put a poser, if you will, into our midst,
I
purposely
know.
violating rules
Is
to
he
bring
casting a
suits.
spell over us with his voice?
I ask you to declare this entire motion out of order based on violation of the Texas Election Code 141.
No, sir, you are out of order. No.
understand what he's saying, but it just simply says they won't be on the Republican ballot.
Thank you for your point of order.
We have the right to do that. The Supreme Court already ruled that we can set our own primary rules,
On the
so
basis
his point is
that it's
not
necessarily illegal.
not well
It's
met.
a bad idea. Also, once I do overrule the point of order, inevitably we're going to have a vote of the majority of this body anyway on the amendment. So, respectfully overruled.
Thank you.
Mike Moore.
Yes, Wainwright SD5. I object to the consideration of this minority report based on the simple fact that as a rules member who spent 45 hours crafting the report that is printed here, and this is not the finally adopted report of the Permanent Rules Committee. The verbiage here is not what the committee adopted.
Oh?
Your points are well taken. It's an objection. It is speaking against. You will count you as speaking against it, sir. It wasn't a motion. It was an objection. That's not a proper objection. Now, fight number one.
Oh.
Mr. McKay has a point of information.
Mark McKay, SD7, point of information. In this minority report proposal, it would impose indemnification obligations on the Republican Party of Texas.
Correct.
What would happen if the state party has a situation like they did several years ago when the party was broke and they simply cannot afford to fulfill these indemnification obligations to the county chairs of the county parties?
Short answer, the party would be insolvent. And I believe it also
Oh, whatever.
imposes
You're so dramatic
obligations on
sometimes.
the chair individually that also I don't think that it can constitutionally impose.
The best part of this is it's also going to render the party insolvent if they follow other Texas election codes that secure our elections. But right now they want to lean back on the Texas election code that they'll abandon later.
Yes, sir. Catherine Brugel, Senate District 28. I believe we are currently out of order as the motion voted on by the body was to take up Rule 44 as it was in the majority report and not to take up the minority report on this issue.
No, that's not what happened.
No, the rules require us to take up the minority report, so that's overruled.
Yes, sir, but the motion voted on by the body was to pass the rules with the exception of section 44 and to take that up.
Correct. And we are taking
And that's
it up
what
now.
we're
Minority
doing.
report's the only matter pending on Rule 44.
Wake up, Will. What are you doing? Do you know where you're at? It's Saturday. And we're talking about Rule 44.
Actually, he made no enacting amendment on his minority report, so it's the floor could call the question on the language as presented in the majority report, if it wishes right now.
No.
Item number 2.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Chris, Senate District 7, I rise to a point of order. The motion before us came because there was a call for the question. At the time, however, my colleague, Mr. Armbruster, had called for the orders of the day. A call for the orders of the day is a privileged motion, and the chair should have honored it. Without honoring it, the call for the question was invalid. Therefore, we should not be entertaining the motion on the floor.
Overruled. Yeah. Again, you can call the question because he had the opportunity to present the minority report. You can call the question on the rule as presented in the rules.
How long is
If
the
you wish.
line? Oh, snap.
Yeah. Mic number 3.
Long
Mr.
lines.
Chairman, Eric Blake, SD 22. I move to amend the minority report in order to protect an ambiguity that it introduced. The ambiguity is in the relation to is not eligible to file to run. To fix that, I propose
Okay.
add.
Let me stop you 1 second. There is no motion currently on the floor. There has been no proper motion made to substitute the minority report. We are currently taking up
Mr. Chairman,
43.
I move to substitute the minority report as the text of Rule 44 into the final report. That's correct.
Okay. The motion has been made to substitute the minority report into the majority as perfected. Number 1.
Rachel Hooper, SD 13. I call the question on the majority report.
Bitch.
Okay, so
Yeah, but they don't have the ability to prevent them from filing on the next primary, which is what we need. Yeah, the minority report. Yeah, that's us trying to put that provision back in
there
there.
was no second.
Oh.
Rachel has called the question.
Dang it.
Therefore,
Oh gosh.
if you would like to vote on the majority report, then you would vote yes to the call of the question. If you want to not accept the majority report and instead vote on the minority report, you would vote no to the call of the question because that would close it.
We need to vote on the minority.
Calling the question. Please indicate by all in favor of calling the question. Please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed.
No!
The ayes have it.
No, they fucking don't.
Now we're gonna vote. Now we're gonna vote.
Yeah, we're at like a roll call or whatever. Come on now, what is that? Someone oppose that. One of you patriots get up there.
Now we're. Yes.
It's not on for us to motion.
And I would like to move for a standing vote for the last one.
Okay.
Angela Hudson, SC 12, 30.
Okay.
Division.
Do
All
it.
in favor of calling the question on Rule 44 as presented in the rules, please stand up.
Y'all don't want to debate? Y'all don't want the minority report? That's what we.
All against calling the question. Please stand up. The ayes have it, the question's called. The question's now presented on the rules package as a whole. All in favor of adopting the rules, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed?
No!
The ayes have it, the rules are adopted. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. So we have no recourse for Republicans that don't represent the party platform.
Mike number 2.
They just get to continue to go up there and not represent.
Mike number 2.
I have a motion to appeal. Motion to appeal.
Yeah, but there's no. We can censure them, but it means nothing. Look at Abbott. How many times has Abbott been censured?
Abbott has never been
Majority of the body had enough debate.
Strauss and Cooper.
Yeah, but
They conveniently retired.
yeah, but this. I mean,
Without a denial of ballot access, a censure means nothing.
that's my point. And now, look, see this dumb shit.
So as long as that just means everybody who adopted this is okay.
Uh-huh.
with freaks like Abbott fucking over Texas.
That's right. There's no recourse for us now. We have no fucking recourse now.
Somebody waiting in the back.
We're just going to let everybody run, and the voters will have to decide. And if the voters decide to vote for, the rapists, then that's okay, because at least there's an R
And
in the word.
they're going to file again. The incumbents always have a huge head start. They're just going to file again. Wow.
There was a typograph
What? Really? How can we beat the incumbents in the primary when they've got all the backing of all the other RINOs behind them?
We're supposed to be strict. Abbott wasn't beaten.
That's not what.
They've never been beaten in the primary.
The committee will continue.
No,
And
they
it's up
didn't.
to us to decide who
It was name recognition is why Abbott got ahead, and Democrats voting in the Republican primary.
It's a substantive error.
This is a private party.
This is a private party. We have the right to set our own rules.
No, we didn't.
That's why.
It's still a primary.
That's our party does not follow every Texas election code.
Thank you, sir.
No, we don't. We still play in a primary. We control the primary.
And our party does not adhere to other Texas election codes, so it's such a joke that they're leaning on a Texas election code to prevent them.
This as a private party.
We are, and so does the Supreme Court.
Final vote yesterday on exactly what happened, because a lot of people I'm talking to here today don't even know what we voted on yesterday afternoon. Could you please clarify that?
Let's just take a look
We voted on various portion amendments to the rules.
You came within 3% of losing.
We voted on many
3% of losing.
amendments.
Okay, well, they're still referring to the TEC rules.
Yeah.
And what exactly did we decide
Yeah, we're
on?
going to lose our gun rights over it. That was a real smart move, wasn't it? Brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, you're talking about the people out there.
We can provide.
I know. We are.
The people need to have better options. They
The
don't.
Republican Party is the gatekeeper of those candidates.
We need better
Nobody's
people.
guarding the gate.
That's right. That's right.
I don't have more time, but a lot of people aren't answering. So you might just ask in your section.
Right-wing people on
Thank you.
our
Mike number 1.
Rachel
We don't need extreme right-wing people. We need people that aren't under censure for failing to represent.
Paul, who sat in office for 30 fucking years.
Okay, if they campaign on our platform and then they don't represent us, why should we continue to allow them on the ballot? They have a huge head start as the incumbent. Name recognition and all of the machine is going to be behind them.
Most people are socialists. If
When-
you're okay with leaving
when
the
they
party,
get in there-
then okay.
When they get in there, when they get into office and they start to comply with the machine,
Crime happens, and as long as you're okay with some crime happening, I guess that's all right.
when they get into office and they start to work for the machine starts to work for them and keeps them in. We have the right as a party to say, you've messed up too many times. Take a break, go sit down and read the Constitution.
Okay, don't argue with people who are okay with
Okay, no,
rape being
I'm not. I don't make those arguments. I take a different position.
You want a paper copy of the?
Yes. We didn't get a chance to debate it. Of course, the body is against it.
It's been debated many times.
And the rich part about the debate is that the RINOs that don't want to be censured, don't want to be banned from filing again, they'll lean on the Texas Election Code in order to prevent themselves from having to deal with this. But when we want to argue about adhering to the Texas Election Code related to the administration of our elections, the Republican Party says we're independent, and they cite the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruling that we're a private party and we can do whatever we want. That's the rich part about this debate. And I don't know that anyone's pointing that out, other than myself, because I know the Texas Election Code and I know the Supreme Court's ruling that we're an independent party. So that's the whole reason why we don't have to follow the election code in the administration of our primary elections. It's so rich my teeth are going to fall out.
We already saw in Alaska, Murkowski was beat in the primary, but she still won in Alaska as an independent. We've already seen it.
Okay. See, you and I are not aligned on how trustworthy our voting systems are, because they're not. So if you believe that Murkowski is actually supported by the people of Alaska, I got some oceanfront property in Arizona for you to look at. It's up for sale. It's up for sale.
We've seen it before, where people like Representative Van, they may have got beat in the Republican primary, but they end up winning in the general election.
Name recognition has a lot to do with that, and that might be a big, so that may be part of, the argument that you're making, but that's exactly why we should prevent people who don't.
Can be beat in the primary. That's an example of how somebody beat an incumbent.
If we have secure elections, but the Republican Party doesn't support adhering to the election code in the administration of our elections. We're trying to secure our elections. Republican Party doesn't care if we follow election code in the administration of our elections, but they'll sure as hell cite it whenever they don't want to be censored and prevented from filing on our private ballot.
The chair recognizes Steve Evans to present the legislative priorities